Hi, welcome to Parts of Montessori, a series where I talk about my past, present, and future experiences in Montessori. I'm Bethany, a former Montessori student and now a Montessori teacher. Parts of Montessori is part of my online business, Parts of the Language LLC, where I sell digital and printable products and services for Spanish language learning and digital and printable products for Montessori environments. So an update on the Knowledge Fair. All the students have finished their books, and we're just waiting for the Knowledge Fair to come. They have been practicing every day, and they're doing very well with it, and they enjoy, again, having the books that they have created, and so that's going well. I also introduced the second years. I put it in a 3-pronged folder. I have a brainstorming works that they write to create a story. So they go through the writing process of a story, like pick your main characters, what is your plot. So then right now the second years are working on a bigger project of the story, which will count as a language work for them once they complete each step. And so maybe I'll do a whole episode about that, because that's very interesting. For example, the first thing they have to do is brainstorm ideas. For me, my students, they always come up with these ideas and creative things. So I'm like, oh wow, they'll be able to think of the different ideas or what they want to talk about. But every single student I did this with on the brainstorm page, I'm like, you're going to think of like 3 or 4 different ideas. They'll say, so once there was a kid, and just start writing the story, which is interesting to observe, because to me, it should be 3 or 4 different ideas, and you're going to pick the one you like the most. But their brains are so focused on the one thing. And after like the third student came up to me and said, well, and it was the same thing, they just started writing the story out. I'm like, that's great, but we need, some ideas. But then I said, you know what? They're just going to stick with the one idea they had for now, and they will progress through that. It was interesting for me to observe how they took this brainstorming idea, because even thinking back to the Knowledge Fair, they had to pick an idea, and they didn't shout out a bunch of different ideas. A lot of the students did what they first picked, so just something interesting to observe about writing, especially since I had gone through the AMS writing certification this summer and into like the fall time, and there was a lot I learned from that. One other thing I did with that too was I started writing them daily messages. Now, this was at the beginning of the year and it kind of faded out. It was just something interesting to observe, and I would like to know if in your class you have the same observations about writing that I have seen. Let me know in a comment below. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 10 works that I hope my students complete each day in the class. Some kids finish it during the morning work cycle, some it takes them all day to finish, and some don't finish it at all. I have I like to say, high standards for my students, so that I know that they are doing all of the work, and have a varied plate of what they're doing, and they get a math, a language, and a cultural and practice skills they need for building up their reading and math. So we call them morning work, and I have 7 morning works for the kids to complete. Before I get into them, you've seen them because last week I talked about my work plans. So if you've seen my work plan, it is my favorite one I have created. I have created way too many work plans, and I have used this one for over a year now, and it's working amazing. It is the best work plan that I have created. So when I first started teaching lower elementary Montessori with the work plan, we just wrote it in for them, right? But then this one is completely blank. And so with that, they finished a math, language, and cultural, and then they had to do morning math and 2 editing sentences. So I have added quite a bit since that 5 years ago now. I've added a lot more daily works, I guess you can call them, because they don't have to be finished in the morning. But the kids do see the difference between the morning work and the math, language, or cultural works. The first thing they complete is a math card, and I've made a bazillion math cards which have 3 equations on them. It's not really a bazillion, it's 435. And you can get all of them for free in my free hub. So they have 3 equations on them, and the kids solve they write in their math notebook the 3 equations and solve them, or I will write the math equations for them. Each day, one of the first things they do is solve 3 equations, so I know they've gotten math in for the day. And then they do 2 editing sentences, and this is usually what the students complete first, because as soon as they finish editing, they can have snack. The 2 editing sentences, they fix the sentence. I have also created all my own editing sentences. I believe they're in the free hub, but they might be at my Montessori activities. They are 2 editing sentences. Each day it's just on 1 sheet of paper, and it's in their portfolio, which is a binder that they have that has their work plan, portfolio, their maps, and then their reading work in Wasika. They do their editing, and then journal. They pick a journal card, and this is to help with writing. Again, the capital letter at the beginning of a sentence and period at the end in handwriting, and just for them to be able to think and to have a open, creative mindset of thinking and answering questions like, what would I do if I had $1 million, that type of thing. I've also have my journal cards that I created. There's drawing ones, there's like what if questions, and then just questions that they can answer. Those are also at the free hub. Math facts. So this is where they write down some math facts. They usually write it under their 3 math equations, and it's whatever they're working on. If it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, just like the math card, whatever they're working on. Sometimes it's a mix, and they do a mixture of the different math equations. They usually use like a finger chart or the beads to help, the colored beads to help them solve the math facts. We use Raz Kids for daily reading, so that is also their computer work, so they can practice using the computer. They do the Raz Kids, and then also on the computer, their daily work is typing. We use Ed Club typing, and then I have them complete at least a page of the Washika each day. So then I like to have them finish a color a week with that, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So it's just in their binder. So they have that in their binder with all their, their work plan and everything. So they know where that is, like the paperwork that goes with it. And then math, language, and cultural. So those were the morning works. And then they have to pick a math work, a language work, and a cultural work. And I know many schools just say, okay, you have to finish a math, language, or culture and don't have all this extra stuff. But what I have seen, and I know it's go at your own pace in Montessori, and I'm not saying not to go at their own pace, but I'm saying that I don't I don't appreciate it when kids spend all day on like one math work, or maybe it's a cultural they did all day. At least with the morning works, I know they had some math, I know they had some language. Then they look at their map to see what's next, or whatever I've presented them. They pick a math work from whatever it is they're working on it, whether it be clocks or anything, whatever is a math. And then their next language, usually kids like to do symbolizing cards, a word study, maybe it's the pink, blue, or green series, just depending on where they are. They do a language work, whatever is next for them. And then cultural work, it's usually what I presented as a whole group that day, or they are thinking of their own project to do for cultural, like a report, but sometimes it's a map, because we started a map unit. Whatever we're talking about that day is what the cultural work is. So those are the 10 works. And then it's really they finish 11 works in a day, because at 2:30 we stop to do, this is the only plan thing. We have morning and then groups throughout the morning. And unless a student comes up to me and says, well, I need this next thing on the map, I'll show them it individually, or sometimes I bring them together to practice certain skills too. And sometimes we do a reading group that counts as a language. At the end of the day, at 2:30, we have silent reading, where they have to complete a page from their reading work, which we use Flyleaf Publishing. And so once they complete that page, then they can read whatever book they want. So it's really, so in total, it's mostly 11 works that they're doing because of the work at the end of the day. Now, does everybody always finish these? Absolutely not. It is a lot of work for some kids, but that's okay, It is okay. And once they finish all their work for the day, they get to be on free choice, and they can choose what to work on or what to do. A lot of kids like to be crafty and use paper to create things, and I'd rather them not rush through their work, but I'd rather them finish the work in the 3-hour cycle and then have the afternoon to be freely choose what they want to learn about or what they do, even though they are freely choosing what to pick already with the work plan, what they're working on. They're still getting the extra opportunity if they finish everything. It does motivate some kids and it doesn't motivate some kids. Like if I finish all my work, and some kids, we all know that it takes a lot for them to get work done. And so it's like, okay, I'd make it manageable. It's not like they're doing 3-part cards every day for cultural, because that is a big work, right? So look at what student it is and make the work plan work for them, so then they feel accomplished in finishing the work. Of course, this episode is sponsored by my own business, Parts of the Language LLC. Please sign up for my free Montessori hub of resources that you can use in your Montessori environments. There are over 15 plus items, including 453 printable math equation cards, 36 weeks for first and second level editing sentences, and so much more. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.